Hi everybody, this is Dr. Pingle. I am going to give a quick little demonstration of how to install Anaconda and additionally install a couple of the geospatial packages that we're going to be using in this course. Now you don't need to install the geospatial packages at the beginning of the course, just installing Anaconda will be fine. So if you want to wait on that stuff until later, that is totally fine and may actually be a good idea. We're here at the Anaconda website, so this is continuum.io. We're just going to go to the download section here. So here we go. We're just going to go to download. We've got different flavors here for Windows, Mac, and Linux. We're going to go ahead and download the Windows version. I've got a 64-bit machine, so I'm going to be downloading that, and I'm going to be downloading Python 3.6. If you've got a much older machine, you might have a 32-bit system that you're working on. If you are later on, there may be a good reason why you might think that Python 2.7 is a good idea. ArcGIS still uses Python 2.7 as part of its background, but you can still get pretty far without it. So we're just going to download, in fact you really don't need it, let me just put it that way. I'm going to get the Python 3.6 version, the 64-bit installer. And I would begin installing this, so I'm just going to download this to a temp directory. Now I've actually already downloaded this, so I'm going to cancel that installation and move to a directory where I have a copy that I've already downloaded. So this is Anaconda 3 version 4.4.0, and we'll begin that installation. Notice that it is pretty big, 400 some megabytes, so that's sizable. I'm going to install this for all users. If you have the access to be able to do that, that's a good idea. The default installation here is going to point you to C program data Anaconda 3. I am going to get rid of the program data part and just install it to C /Anaconda 3. This is where it used to install up until pretty recently. Sometimes I've run into some odd permissions issues if I try to install it in that other directory. So I like to just install it here. Maybe superstitious at this point, but that works, and so that's what I'm going with. We'll go ahead and register the Anaconda as the system Python 3.6, and I'm going to leave this out for now, although this may actually be a good idea, but I'll show you how to add it back in. You'll notice that if you tick this box, it kind of turns red and angry and tells you not to do that. So we're going to leave it as it is. I usually do install this as a path environment variable, but we're going to see how it goes without doing that. So we'll hit install. It's going to run through and install itself and any background packages dependencies that it thinks it's going to need. So this may take a while, probably 5 to 10 minutes depending on your computer. So we'll pause this and come back when it's done. Okay, that installation is done. We'll hit next. We don't need to learn about any of this stuff. We don't need any extra email, and so we're done with that. If we go into our start menu here on Windows, we'll get a number of different options here. Anaconda 3, 64-bit. We've got a couple of different programs we may have already used in class already. Jupyter Notebook and Spider. I'm going to open up Spider at this point. Spider is an IDE or an integrated development environment. This is a convenient way to write code. The notebooks are also a pretty good way, but I'm kind of a fan of Spider. So here it goes. It takes a second to load up, especially the first time. There it is. Okay, so we are going to import a package here. So we're going to import NumPy as np. And if we hit tab, basically what we're doing here is we're just testing to make sure that everything is working. Now I'm not worried about Anaconda not working. It always works, so that's no surprise. But sometimes the geospatial packages are a little trickier, so I wanted to demonstrate that quickly. To install the packages, we're going to go here and we're going to start up an Anaconda prompt. Now this is really nothing more than a command prompt with some extra little bits added in here. Those extra little bits are going to help point it in the right direction to make sure that things install properly. I've made a note or a list here of different packages that we're going to install. These are older notes down here, so this is the current package that you'll see. and you might only see this stuff, but I always keep a record of what installs I did and what packages worked together. One of the things about Python is that a lot of these are authored by different people, and so they don't always play nicely together. Sometimes versions need other versions of software that's compatible to run properly. And so I'll often make a note of which version I used to do the install. So we're going to go ahead and do this install. Now, ordinarily, you could do something like conda install and then the package name. So if, for instance, I wanted to install GDOL, I would just type conda install GDOL. Unfortunately, a lot of the geospatial packages, they don't exist as sort of part of the curated Anaconda package list. Many packages are, but some packages aren't. And so GDOL is one of these, and in fact, many of the geospatial packages aren't a part of the sort of default distribution network. So what we're going to do is we're going to do conda install GDOL, but we're also going to use a little switch here, -c and condaforge. So what that little switch does is it says, I want you to contact this development node, condaforge, and see what other things you might find in there that we can use to do the install. So we're going to be solving package specifications. It's basically finding other packages that it needs to make that work. So here's the GDOL that we want, but we want, it's going to have to install all this other stuff along with it. I'm going to hit no for just a second because I want to show you one other thing here, and that is that we can type in particular version numbers, and I'm going to do this in a slightly different order. The order isn't super important in this case, so conda install -c condaforge GDOL, this would work exactly the same, but I'm going to type in GDOL equals 2.2.0, and what this is going to do is it's going to install a particular version. Now it just happens that that was the version that would have installed anyway, so I wouldn't have had any problem there. But I'm trying to keep track of sort of different versions that play together nicely, and that can keep things kind of running smoothly in the classroom environment. So you may not need to install definitely 2.2.0, and I'll certainly let you know. In this case, that's what we're doing. So it's going to go ahead and download all of those different packages, downloads them first, and then it starts installing them. Things are a lot smoother, by the way, than they used to be with these kind of different package installations. Used to be a lot harder, and so one of the really nice things about Anaconda is it simplifies that process. You can always go back in and sort of do things the old way, and in fact, one of the packages that we're going to install, Geo Pandas, is going to need to be installed sort of the old way using pip, which is not really even all that old anymore. But we'll see that here in just a second. So we'll pause the video here while this installation completes. Actually, there it is. So that's all finished. That went pretty smoothly. So we're going to do conda. We're going to install the next one. So the next one that we want to install as part of the course is Fiona, and we're going to install version 1.7.8. So it's going to follow the same pattern. It's going to look for different versions that it needs to do its job. In fact, we're going to be installing Shapely, so we no longer have to install that one separately. So it's done, and you can see that these are going to move a lot faster as we go. I'm just hitting the up arrow there to bring up the last command. So we're going to do pyproj 1.9.5.1. Again, I'm installing particular versions, but you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. You could just say conda install -c condaforge pyproj, and it would find the latest version. I'm just making sure that these are all going to play together nicely. Okay, so now we are at Geo Pandas. So Geo Pandas is going to be a piece that we're going to use to interact with things like shapefiles. So we're going to do pip install Geo Pandas. Now pip is the old package installer. Works spectacularly well. It works in sort of the same format as the conda installs. So you can say conda install and then whatever package name you want. You can also install particular precompiled versions. So here I've done a Google search for precompiled Windows binaries, and if you click on this, There's a number of different packages that have been sort of pre-prepared. A lot of these are geospatial. As a matter of fact, GDAL is on this list. So if I do Control F and GDAL, here's GDAL. And you can see that it actually has a newer version here, 2.1.3. Actually, I take that back. That's an older version. But you can install these particular what are called wheel packages. So you would click on these things, whatever version you had. So this is Python 3.6, and this is for Windows 32. I'm downloading the 64-bit version, which I've actually already done. We'll just hit save there and overwrite it. These tend to be pretty small, so you can see that this one is only 14 megs. Should download pretty quickly no matter where you are. And then when you want to install those things, you can say things like pip install ctemp, and then you can type in the file name of what you had just downloaded, so gdal, whatever. In this case, I don't need to do that, and we're not installing gdal again anyway. We are installing Geo Pandas. So Geo Pandas it's going to go and it's going to look in much the same way as Conda for that package. It's going to download it and it's going to install it. So this all went pretty smoothly. I tend to use Conda to install anything that's going to have anything that is compiled in the background. So GDAL certainly, and some of these others are going to have the kind of things that are going on in the background that you would need. But Geo Pandas does not. So we didn't need to do that. And in fact, I have not seen a Conda version of that all the time whenever I need it. So, okay. So what else do we have that we want? We want to install, this isn't on the list, but we're going to install Rasterio. So we'll do that in much the same way here. And we'll actually demonstrate the fact that we do not need a version number. So this is going to, again, solve the package specifications, make sure that everything is going to play together nicely. In a perfect world, you never run into any problems, but that's not always the case. Sometimes packages need to be downgraded. You can see that we're downloading version 1.0 alpha 9. So I could make a note of that in here if I wanted to as well. I could say conda install so this was 1.0 alpha 9. Or I could just leave it like I did it. So again, I always like to keep notes of what I installed, what packages, but that's just kind of my meticulous nature here. Okay, so the last piece here was Cartopy. So actually, let's hit up arrow again, saves a lot of typing. Cartopy 0.15.1. And again, that is the most recent version, so just as a demonstration, we'll do it without that. And it is going to go ahead and find the latest version, which, since I just did this a few minutes ago, is definitely 0.15.1. Here it is right here. So we'll proceed with that installation. And we're all set. So now we can start up Spider, or whatever coding environment that you were using. Again, usually starts up a bit faster the second time around, so this shouldn't take long. Okay, so I can do what I just did, which is import numpy as np. So if we hit np dot and hit tab, we get a number of different things that we can do. And that's kind of how we can test that a package installed properly. That's not a definitive test. Usually you want to kind of bring in some data and work with it, but it's a pretty good start. So we're going to start with GDAL. So we're going to, from OSGeo, import GDAL. And now we can type GDAL dot and hit tab, and you can see that we're getting a number of different options. So that's a good indicator that everything has come in the way we like it. We can do the same thing with Rasterio. So import Rasterio and hit tab, and there's a number of different things that we can do there. And we'll just test one more. We're going to, why don't we bring in Geo Pandas, so import Geo Pandas as GPD, oops, misspelled it, but that's okay, GDP dot, and then tab, and you can see that there's a number of different things here that we're getting. So all good indicators that the packages came in fine. A test with real data would be very helpful, but we'll skip that for now. So there's your quick path to sort of getting the installs ready and going. So good luck, and definitely talk to me if you've got any questions. Thanks.